December 30. The language of the Spirit and the bride. 4. And the Spirit and the bride say, Come. Revelation 22, verse 17. Read Revelation 22, verse 17 through 21. Our edification should be founded in our knowledge that we should consider the foundational prayer of New Year's Eve of the bride the way God hears it. Then I know in advance, by faith, that nothing else will edify. And then there is for that faith afterward also an affirmation of that faith. In other words, then we find afterwards also that this consideration indeed edified us with a particular New Year's Eve edification. For indeed, this consideration purifies our last prayer of this year. For it teaches me that I actually have so little of that positivity about which we spoke before, the longing for the coming. We look back in a melancholy way at what is past. In other words, we look at what will not come again. We look back at our dead ones, who will never come back to us. We look back at our never again coming year of chances, our never again coming lost money, our never again coming past time. We pay so much attention to what has escaped from between our hands. We look now as lost and also as somewhat pushy children at the door of God's palace and find that the king there in that palace should now finally show us some sympathy. We will show him how many things have escaped from between our fingers and wonder, does he not find that edifying? For does he not very gladly hear us? But this last sentence is not true, and exactly that is now the difficulty. In itself, or in ourselves, one could contemptuously make of it, in itself he does not at all hear us gladly, for we are always something else than a thing in itself, for we are in accordance to the commandment or against it. We are in accordance to God, or we are not. Thus he gladly hears prayer. He only gladly hears us when we show in our praying the restored humanity with everything that lives in it again, in accordance to the original reality of God's image, in as far as that restored, pure humanity is found back in our prayer. In other words, he asks, he listens, if we positively call out for the positive that is called the coming of the Son of Man, the bridegroom of all. Is that not purification of prayer? Oh, now we are ashamed. We are inclined to force him toward us, that he, for example, would stand at our fresh grave. We would like to draw him to our holiday locations, that is, the locations of us wasting time. We so easily think then that such a place of passing, such a place of holidays, indeed is edifying and somewhat Sabbath-like, as long as we connect a Bible text to it and are not considered getting too far away from our role. But fortunately, things are not so simple, for then they would be so very cheap. Indeed, he knows of no passing, and gives no holidays, and has not even any pleasure in entering into our Sabbath. Even less is he pleased to enter our imitation Sabbath. He says literally to us in his word that we have to enter into his Sabbath. In other words, we, on December 31, 2012, should find rest in what he finds rest. That is, to rest in the coming, in the movement, in that which is on the way, which does not escape, but powerfully forces itself upon us with judgment and with grace. Thus he takes me away from my tomb, or my decoration of the tomb, and directs me to God's mighty territory untold, which are 10,000,000-fold, and at one time will open up all the graves. With one jolt he will take me from what is mine, which I view as aesthetic, and will transfer me into what belongs to him. He still has great pleasure in that son, who still needs to receive his springtide feast. On New Year's Eve I cannot possibly present a private little matter to him, except in the church. For that community is the bride, and thus she is for the bridegroom the only great coming thing. And it is remarkable, with this bride I can only rejoice in him. For besides the purification of the bride, which indeed will be consummated in me as her member, great joy will come. A feast is coming. Sing Psalm 90, stanza 7.